Hello everyone, welcome to Driving Production. In this episode, we're going to be installing some sound deadening in the Mazda 3. Adding some sound deadening to the car, it's actually something that I've been wanting to do for a while. So I think this car from the factory is pretty loud just to drive it around. For example, you hear a lot of road noise, you can hear the wind coming in. So overall, that's why I wanted to do sound deadening prior. But then if you've seen the episode where I did the exhaust on the Mazda 3, you'll see that I talked about how the droning is quite loud. Now I think there's a few factors that goes into that. One, we actually don't have a cargo cover. I don't think it'd be much of a difference, but I think it adds to it. The other thing, the fact that this is a hatchback too and not a sedan, the sound goes straight into the cabin essentially. So there's a few places where I think this car could use a little bit more insulation. The other aspect of it, it's supposed to increase the sound system, so I think that's a nice added benefit to it. So I want to start with the rear of the car, the hatch. I want to insulate the most I can in the rear and kind of work my way towards the front from there, depending on how much left of the product there is. So speaking of how much this is actually supposed to cover, this is supposed to cover 36 square feet. It's also something to consider because this is quite heavy. So if you do add this to your car, I think they mentioned that for every square feet, it adds 0.7 of a pound, so roughly 25 pounds or so for 36 square feet. So it's something to consider. It's not significant amount, but I mean, if you add, let's say, a box or even a second box, now you're starting to add quite a bit of weight depending on how much you're actually putting some on the car. So something to consider. I've got this on Amazon. I'll leave the link in the description below. I've seen some pretty good reviews. I mean, I think from what I've seen, it does the job for what it's supposed to do. So it is a cheap Amazon brand, but I'm looking forward to using this. Same thing with the tools. Got them off Amazon. We'll see how it turns out. So I wanted to open the box with you guys, kind of go through it. So if you open it, I thought the sheets were actually smaller, but if I just take one for example, so just the one sheet is actually pretty big. I'd say it's a 1.5 by 2.5 feet about. So I think it'll cover quite a bit. It'll be interesting to see if I need to get some more to do the full car, or I'll be able to do the full car with this. As a matter of thickness, I think it's advertised as 2 millimeter. I don't know the specific on like if that's really good or bad. Just the one sheet doesn't seem too heavy, and from what I understand, as you roll over them, they flatten, so that's when you know that the application is good. That's what they look like. So as far as material goes, it's not like you need a huge amount of material, so it'll be quite interesting to see how it goes to install it. This is pretty much the only specific tool I had to get because it's specifically to roll and make sure it sticks to the metal of the car and the body. Obviously scissors, an old pair of scissors that cuts well to cut in to pieces that you need. Screwdriver, I think it's a good idea to have to pop the trims and to remove them in some areas. They do recommend to degrease the area. I'm sure it'd be better with alcohol, but that's all I have on hand, some Windex. So I think it'll be good enough for the job. And that's pretty much it. I just removed everything in the trunk. I just removed the trim and everything and the spare tire. One thing that I noticed is as soon as I removed them, over the time, there's quite a bit of dirt in there. So I actually ended up vacuuming everything in there. I wanted to show you guys just how hollow this sounds. So just from there, I can see that the noise would come through quite a bit. So I'm looking forward to installing it and seeing what the results are. So I just finished doing the trunk section, and this is what it looks like. So I just finished installing all the sound deadening that I had, and it went pretty well. So it did take quite a while to install. So I did it over the course of a few weeks. I'm sure if I would have taken like a full day to install everything on the whole car, I could have probably done it in like an 8-hour day, or probably a little bit less. But overall, I think it went pretty well. It's fairly easy to do, but it is something that's time consuming to do. So I've installed it on the flooring where the spare wheel goes. I've also put some on where the hatch latches onto and the wheel wells. I did the rear hatch a little bit. And also I did the plastic interior trims. And from there I moved to all 4 doors. So I did the inside there. So one thing I was surprised when I did the doors, I was expecting this like not a tarp, but like a plastic that was very thin, kind of like a grocery bag. but it ends up it was actually a hard plastic that went into the door. Now I know a lot of people that do sound deadening, they'll actually take that off, do the actual inside of the door, and then cover the outside also. I didn't do that. I just did the outside of the door where the plastic was and on top of the plastic. The reason I did that is because if I were to take it out, since we're in Canada with the winters, the car gets oil treated. So the interior of the door is full of rust proofing, which is basically oil. So it would have been quite time consuming to remove all the grease that's inside the door and to make sure that the sound deadening sticks. And also I didn't have that much material left at that point when I finished the rear section of the car to do the door. I only had 2 or 3 sheets that were left to do the doors. So overall, that's how I proceeded, and I think it went really well. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention that I also got a cargo cover for the car. The goal was to kind of trap the sound waves into the rear hatch area. I noticed afterwards that there is a gap in between the seat and the actual cargo cover. I'd say about an inch or 2 that separates it, so there is some sound that can leak through there. I did put a bit of sound deadening on the cargo cover also to add a little bit to it. So there's sound deadening pretty much everywhere I wanted some in the car. Now it's just to see if it worked. Be taking a closer look at how much it actually affected the car in the next episode, where I do a full in-car review of the sound deadening and compare the decibels rating. For this episode, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed the video today. If you did, please consider subscribing, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.